Hello, this is Alan Fogelquist. Techis Report was created with research assistance by SuperGrok. Since 2006, Bolivia has undergone profound political and socioeconomic shifts, largely driven by the rise of the Movimiento al Socialismo (MES) party and the presidency of Evo Morales, the country's first indigenous leader. Elected in December 2005 and assuming office in January 2006, Morales initiated a process of change aimed at addressing historical inequalities, empowering indigenous populations, and reasserting state control over natural resources. This era marked a departure from neoliberal policies, fostering economic growth and social inclusion, but also sparking polarization, institutional challenges, and eventual economic vulnerabilities. The period culminated in political crises, including Morales' 2019 ouster, the 2020 return of MAS under Luis Arce, and a dramatic right-wing shift in the August 2025 elections amid an ongoing economic downturn. This report examines these transformations, drawing on key achievements, failures, and current dynamics. Political transformation. The political landscape in Bolivia transformed dramatically post-2006, emphasizing plurinationalism, indigenous rights, and leftist governance, though marred by increasing authoritarian tendencies and divisions. Rise of MAS and constitutional reforms. Morales' election symbolized a break from elite-dominated politics, with MAS gaining broad support from rural indigenous and urban informal sectors. In 2009, a new constitution was adopted, redefining Bolivia as a plurinational state and expanding rights for indigenous peoples, including autonomy and parallel justice systems. This reform also strengthened state involvement in the economy and formalized participatory mechanisms like popular consultations. Electoral dominance and crises. Morales secured re-elections in 2009 and 2014, but a 2016 referendum rejected his bid for a fourth term. Ignoring this, he ran in 2019, leading to fraud allegations, mass protests, and his resignation and exile. The interim government under Janine Áñez, 2019-2020, was accused of repression, including massacres in Sacaba and Sencada, with limited accountability under subsequent MAS rule. In 2020, Luis Arce won the presidency, restoring mass control, but internal rifts emerged, particularly between Arce and Morales, fracturing the party. Recent developments. Elections have been generally free and fair, with high turnout due to compulsory voting, but judicial independence has eroded, with politicization used for prosecuting opponents, such as Áñez and Santa Cruz Governor Luis Fernando Camacho. The August 2025 elections marked a seismic shift. MAS suffered a historic defeat, securing only about 3% of the vote, while right-wing candidates captured 77%, advancing to an October 19th runoff between Christian Democrats Rodrigo Paz Pereira and Edmund Lara and far-right Jorge Tudo Quiroga. This reflects voter disillusionment with mass infighting, corruption, and economic woes, ending nearly 2 decades of leftist dominance. Polarization persists along regional, class, and ethnic lines, with robust civil society participation, but harassment of opposition media and activists. Bolivia's governance has improved representation for marginalized groups, but struggles with reconciliation and institutional impartiality. Socioeconomic transformation. Economically, Bolivia shifted from neoliberalism to a state-led model, yielding initial prosperity, but exposing vulnerabilities to commodity cycles and policy rigidities. Economic policies and growth. The 2006 nationalization of hydrocarbons was pivotal, boosting state revenues from natural gas exports and funding social programs. Between 2006 and 2014, GDP grew at an average of 4.5 to 4.9% annually, driven by high commodity prices. Public investment in infrastructure, roads, schools, health clinics, expanded rural access to services like water and electricity, social spending, including cash transfers, e.g., bono contra el hambre, reduced poverty by 42% and extreme poverty by 60% by the mid-2010s. Inequality declined, with about 10% of the population entering the middle class. Key indicators. The following table highlights select socioeconomic metrics over time. Year period GDP growth %, poverty rate, extreme poverty rate, key policy event 2006, 20 40 or 4, 5, 4.9 reduced from 60 to 36, reduced from 38 to 15 hydrocarbon nationalization, commodity boom 2015, 2019, 4 poor 35, 15 commodity price drop, continued social spending 2020, 2022, 8.7, 2020, then recovery to an under 3.536, 2022, 11, 2022, COVID-19 impact, RC's recovery efforts 2023, 2025, 2.0, 3.0 rising to 40 rising to 15 declining reserves, inflation surge, data synthesized from sources, figures approximate based on trends. Social developments, advances included reduced everyday racism, greater indigenous representation, and improved gender equity in politics. However, the informal sector remains dominant, 79% of non-agricultural employment, and environmental degradation from extractivism, e.g. forest loss for soy and mining, has intensified, ranking Bolivia second in tropical deforestation by 2024. Post-2014, falling commodity prices and dwindling gas reserves strained finances, leading to reserve depletion and rising debt. The COVID-19 pandemic caused a 8.7% GDP contraction in 2020, with recovery hindered by fiscal deficits, 7.9% of GDP in 2022. Challenges and current situation. As of September 2025, Bolivia faces acute economic and political challenges. The economy is in crisis, with fuel and dollar shortages, inflation at multi-decade highs, and a parallel exchange rate double the official peg. Costly fuel subsidies persist, draining resources, while corruption scandals, e.g., diverted indigenous funds, have eroded trust. Politically, MAS's internal divisions and Morales' legal troubles, including statutory rape charges, contributed to its electoral collapse. The upcoming runoff suggests reforms. Both candidates advocate private investment incentives, spending cuts, and potential currency devaluation to avert a crisis. External risks include global slowdowns and climate disasters, while internal issues like weak institutions and resource dependency persist. A generational shift among youth prioritizes individual well-being over collective ideologies, diminishing masses' appeal. Conclusion. Bolivia's transformation since 2006 has been a story of empowerment and progress intertwined with conflict and fragility. Masses' policies reduced poverty, enhanced inclusion, and asserted sovereignty, but reliance on extractivism, political authoritarianism, and economic mismanagement led to disillusionment and a rightward turn in 2025. The next government must balance reforms with social protections to sustain gains while addressing crises. Despite challenges, the socialist legacy of redistribution and indigenous rights will likely endure, influencing future politics.